Okay, good morning, everyone. So, for the continuation of our discussions about languages, we are in the group three, and we're going to tackle or discuss the language policy for this subject. So, together with my group, Chileme Dulay and Johaida Mamalumpong, we're going to discuss about the language policies, what it is language policy, and what it can do. So, wait lang. So, this is the unit one, the lesson for unit one, which is language policy, what it is, and what it can do. You are going to attain for on this discussion about the language policy meaning, what is language policy and what it can do. And the third one is the importance of language policy and education. So to begin with, let us have some brief introductions about language. So language is a system, communication used by particular country. Ito yung mga lingwahe natin, no? This is the language that we're using locally, nationally, or internationally. So ito yung mga, halimbawa, we have different tribes, like our bilinguals also, or we have our mother tongues. Those are languages that we spoke in our particular places. And next is the policy. Policy is prudent or expedient, improper, and immoral actions, conduct, or action. So, the policy naman, ito yung prudent or expedient, conduct, or actions. Pag sinabi natin policy, this is or are the prohibitory or the measures or the rules and guidelines for languages and how it should be used. So, language policy is what a government does, either officially through legislations or decisions or policy to determine how languages are used, cultivate language skills needed to meet national priorities, or to establish the rights of individuals or groups to use and maintain languages. So one of the policies is the RA 7104. So this is the Republic Act number 7104, which this is creating the Commissions of the Filipino Language, which is now also known as our Commission sa Wikang Filipino. That was implemented in 1991. So, the Commission sa Wikang Filipino is tasked to undertake, coordinate, and promote researches for the development of our languages. So together, it's a language policy. It's a language policy that our government has implemented and still using in this generation. It's just developed through times. So language policy, as it was an education, for example, the legislations and the practice pertaining to the languages or the medium of instruction and languages in literacy rather, used in basic education. Just now, we have our medium of instruction at schools, like in high school and then colleges. Now they already started to pursue in colleges that the medium of instruction in colleges should be in English, which is our international language. So I don't know if it's already approved now, but in high school they still promote the medium of instruction, which is the Tagalog, and also together with their mother tongue, so the students could easily understand when the teacher was discussing or explaining in the class. So in education, our medium of instruction used, and it's been part of our language policy when it comes to education. Medium ng instruction naman natin ngayon, since we discussed earlier that the colleges and high school, we have a different medium of instruction when it comes to school policies. DepEds and CHED. So they have a different language policies when it comes to medium and instruction and schools. So to continue, I give the floor now to Miss Shalome Dulay.
So once again, good morning. So language policy is a one mechanics for locating language within social structure so that language determines who has access to political power and economic resources. So it refers to explicit or implicit language planning. So explicit is directly clear language, and implicit is not directly language by official bodies such as ministries of education, managers, or social administrators. Next slide, please.
Good morning, everyone. So, for the continuation of our discussion, let's proceed to model of language policy. So, in this model, there are three components, which are language practices or ecology, language beliefs or ideology, and the last is the language management or planning. So, I will discuss the two components, which is the language practices and language beliefs, and the last one is will be the language management or planning. Polsky 2007 has three interrelated but interdependent components. The first one is language practices, language ideology or language beliefs, and the third is language management. Next slide, please. According to Spolsky 2007, language policy interrelated but interdependent components. So the first one is the language practices. Language practices are the observable behaviors and choices what people actually do, which includes the choice of linguistic features and of the language variety. So when we say language practices, it can be largely defined as the natural, regular, or typical linguistic practices adopted by the members of the target speech community across various social linguistic domains. So these practices depict the patterns among variations of language use and represent the linguistic repertoire of the community or polity in question. So for me, uh, what exactly does language practice comprise? So, in delineating the details, linguistic can refer to different components of the language system and illustrate the specific choices made and patterns demonstrated by the speech community on specific components in question. Like, for example, use of words and idiomatic expressions, patterns in pronunciation, grammatical choices, formality patterns for specific speech acts. So this can be actively compared and cons- contrasted with other comparable groups. So the basic intuition in the approach of identifying language practices for any untrained lay person may be to look for evidence of the use of named languages. Yet, the boundaries between languages and varieties can be so fuzzy that we can hardly pinpoint which is or which with scientific confidence. So as such, training linguistics studying language practices are mindful in identifying variation in language use. For example, not predetermining a closed set of languages to be observed in collected data and careful in categorizing and labeling the linguistic variants. This is even so when actual language use can involve codes switching and language alternation. So in addition, the language practices may not necessarily align with the declared language policy. For example, heritage languages are used in class by students and teachers even though the official medium of instruction is English. A classic example of deviation between explicit policy versus practice. Beyond that, linguists also seek to explain the variation in relation to the social factors characterizing the community under study, such as age, gender, social class, place of birth, and education levels. So this then accounts for the language situation more holistically. Language practices have profound impact on language educational outcomes. Learners develop and expand their language repertoires in relation to quantity and quality of input from various languages or varieties that are prevalent in their linguistic environment through their interaction with their caregivers, relatives, teachers, and even to their friends or peers. So with extensive percent of language practices in the targeted languages or varieties, learners are then able to represent the acquire the necessary features of for them to operate effectively in various speech communities across different domains. For example, formal versus formal versus informal, academic versus daily. So let's proceed to the second component in language policy. Lang- the second one is the language beliefs or language ideology. So language beliefs are the values assigned to the varieties and features. So language beliefs, this is or it refers to the consensus of a speech community on the value attributed to different languages and varieties and the ways they are used specifically that come in contact with the community. So in language beliefs, these languages and varieties may be part of repertoire of the community, but may also be external to the community. For example, foreign languages known to a country but not spoken by its citizens. Beliefs can drive motivation to learn a specific language or variety and reflect the power relations between languages or varieties in a speech community. Unlike Unlike in the first components, the language practices that are more observable and can be documented well with the necessary tools. But in language beliefs are associated with language ideologies and require sophisticated processes to account for reliably and accurately. For example, direct questioning. Example, what language or variety do you value the most and why? Can elicit language beliefs to a certain extent, but some people may be amenable to hide their most truthful beliefs in favor of social signaling, while some others may not even be aware of their own beliefs. As such, findings of language beliefs have higher validity when a battery of measures targeting both explicit and implicit elicitations are used. So in language beliefs can also be studied alongside language practices for triangulation purposes based on the research finding that beliefs do drive practices. So in language practices, there are two main themes issue. So the first First one is instrumentally. When we say instrumentality, which languages or varieties have higher instrumental value as perceived by speech community. In other words, which languages or varieties lead to better life outcomes characterized usually by economic opportunities and administrative convenience. For example, English holds dominating instrumental significance due to its widespread use in global commerce, technology, and administration, while Mandarin's instrument important is also acceding reflecting the increased influence of China on the international stage. So the second is the identity. This is the second themes when the issue of language belief is engaged. So identity. Identity which language or varieties represent the speech community best. Are they inherently identify with the community internally? For example, by members of the community and in externally, example is outsider of the community. Identity may not always be in conflict with instrumentality. For example, speakers with English as native language will use English as an instrument of communication and relate to it as identity construct. However, theme is especially important in situation where the languages or varieties to which the speech community has emotionally attachment deviates from ones with instrumental values. Tension between the languages or varieties that assert identity and languages varieties that expose instrumentality. For example, heritage language learners. So this theme can also be important at the national level, where nation-state governments may mandate the learning of international or regional languages. For example, English or Mandarin for instrumental value and the national language of or languages or indigenous languages for identity. So with the close relation between language beliefs and language educational outcomes, it is unsurprising to note the impact of language beliefs on language educational outcomes. So language learners are also social agents who will respond to social signals from the people in their linguistic environment, even if they are not aware of the choices they are making. So a young child connects with the immediate caregivers on language languages or varieties with safety and comfort. A student conceive that the language or varieties used by the school authoritative figures are emblems for progression. An adult recognize that the language or varieties used the powerful elites in the society are associated with social and economic capital. So with the positive values attributed to the languages or varieties in question, the learner will be more motivated to learn and use them in contrast to others. So I will give the floor to the next reporter. Please welcome Shella Medulay.
So the third language policy is language management. Language management is the explicit and observable effort by someone or some group that has claimed to have authority over the participants on the domain to modify their practices or beliefs. So management is disciplines that consist of satisfying the needs of people who speak multiple different languages. So for the example, family languages. So we practice in 'di ba mas ba ay monolingual tayo sa ano natin sa family natin kasi isang language lang ang ginagamit. And for example in the school, we we multiple linguistic because dahil ka ng more than two na ang ginagamit natin, di ba? Hindi lang English, hindi lang Bisaya, hindi lang Tagalog, kundi marami pang mga language ang ginagamit. So, language has problems on the part of individual speaker. So, they efforts as self-correction and censors. So, language as discourse of institutions and managements of language. The study of language management is refers a vast versions of view beyond the concerns with the statement of students. Lang. So, language management is essential for fostering effective communication in the teaching method. So, we preserving linguistic diversity and addressing language related as a challenges in our various settings. Like for example in the school, 'di ba, mas ano natin is challenges sa atin kapag hindi natin alam yung salita nila or yung language nila, 'di ba? Kailangan pa natin ng interpreter para mas maintindihan pa yung sinasabi. And it requires a comprehensive understand of language dynamics as a cultural consideration and the needs of the students or the teachers involved. So, so it should be uh, pointed out of the selection of a language na dapat magkaisa ang ang language natin para mas ang communication is dili mag mag-iba at
Thank you. The same thing also in the major in English. Since our teachers was trying to convey lang, parang i-pursue tayo para mag-speak ng English. So,
yes,
minsan, teacher kailangan mag-manage sa room, within the room, that everyone should speak in English. So, for us to develop, to enhance also our skills and talents, not just talents, but our speaking skills also in English, na ma-develop tayo or ma-enhance pa yung pagsasalita natin ng English, di ba? So, the teacher managed inside the room also para ma-develop pa tayo. Ganun. Okay, sorry for the skip. I skipped this part. Thank you, Miss Dulay. So I skipped this part, the introduction of language policy. Sorry about that. This in here is the scholars with their theories that I forgot to not forgot, but I skipped to discuss. So as a to continue, as language policy is both an interdisciplinary academic field and implementation of ideas about language we use. So some of the scholars, these are the scholars here, such as, oh, this different ones, such as Joshua Freshman and Ophelia Garcia. They are considered different perspective and theories about this persons here that we write here. So they're considered language policy as part of the social linguistics in the society or in the community. But on the other hand, this person here is on screen, like this Kaplan and Baldog, Lubianco, McCartney, and Spolsky. So they're the scholars, Bernard Spolsky, Robert B. Kaplan, and Joseph Labianco. There argues that language policy is a branch of applied linguistics. So, according to Kaplan and Baldov in 1997, a language policy is a body of ideas, laws, regulations, rules, and practices. So, according to him, the language policy has been defined in many different ways. So, Kaplan also here provides a higher education programs and professional training courses, the test preparation of materials and other services for a various levels of education. They're both referring for education as in here also. Lobianco, while Lobianco defines the field as specific history and local circumstances influence. And McCartney naman in 2011, he defines language policy as a complex socio-cultural process, modes and human interactions, negotiations, and productions mediated by relations of power. While Spolsky naman, Bernard Spolsky in 2004, language policy, he refers to all language practice, beliefs in management, which is the Haida Mamalupong discusses earlier. That's Spolsky's language policies theories of components. There's three components that he said that is language practices, beliefs in management, decisions of the community or polity. It constitutes the intent of someone to manipulate the linguistic behaviors of some community for some reasons. So Spolsky there in that part, he was claiming that those components in the language policy are just related, but however have different dependent rules when it comes to behaviors in community in speaking language or in their language policy in every community that they're involved. So that's it, I guess, for our discussion for today. So we have questions here. However, we can't answer these questions, but we still want to give you this question. What are the differences of the three components of Spolsky's theory of language policy? I hope that you can just answer it on your own, maybe. And that's all.